Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the Jade Gemini. This evening I am super excited to bring you a review of this guy right here. This is the Nitecore EDC25 everyday carry flashlight. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what I like, what I love, what I dislike, and if it applies, what is rubbish about this EDC25. Before doing so, let me go and get the size comparison out of the way with this guy. So first, we're going to compare it to a light that is small and a lot of people have in their collection. So this is the Olight i5T/i5R EOS. So this is just a AA light. So as you can see, this light is definitely a little bit longer. And here's the overall thickness. So just about as thick, but definitely a little longer in the pocket. Next, we're going to go ahead and show a tactical light, because this is what this light is very much modeled as, is a tactical light itself. So we're going to show another light which is kind of modeled as a tactical-ish light as well. This is the Olight Warrior Mini 3. Great light, everyday utility light, but has some tactical features like a quick, to turbo, and you can program strobe out of the back and do different things like that. So as you can see, this light is a little bit longer, but not by much. And you get an idea here of the width. So definitely now we're kind of understanding that this is a little bit of a thinner light compared to these others. And then for like a full-on, like real tactical light, we're going to show a brother. This is the Nitecore P20iX. And this beef cake, as you can see, is longer. It's definitely much heavier, probably double the weight. And the biggest thing for sure is just that girth, especially at the head here where it comes out to its widest point. You can just see crazy town, and we'll talk about that. So with those size comparisons out of the way, one last thing I wanted to do in case you are looking into this light but you don't have a lot of lights yourself, here's a Benchmade bug out for size as well. Okay, there we go, out of the way. Bye, bug out. So anyways, yeah, let's go and jump right into what I like about this light. So the first thing that I like about this light is the fact that with the light itself, the user controls here are really simple to kind of pick up and use. You tap the back to go ahead and check the battery, but it doesn't turn the light on, which is a really cool feature. So if you're just kind of wondering, hey, I haven't used this in a while, let me tap that. Oh, cool. Okay, got that much light here, or battery here, good to go, right? Then you can soft press and you get a momentary on, or you can deeper press, full press instead of half press, then you get the light on itself. From here, this bottom switch here, you do the half presses. You can, what's kind of cool is if you're like, hey, what mode am I on? So you know how much more light that you have to give. You can just tap while it's on and it will kind of remind you. Then you can, half tap again, you go up, half tap again, you go up, and you get the 1000 lumens here. And then you go back down. So it's like 15, 45, like 300-ish, and 1000. Then at any point, you can push this button here and you go into turbo, right? And so really cool feature here that just there's a simplistic turbo instantly that you can get to, and it's very rapid, so you can even make your kind of own strobe or do signaling or whatever kind of situation that you would get into. Really cool and easy feature here. Another thing you can do, just like the Warrior, is if you hold the light on, or from off, if you hold turbo and then click the light fully on, you've now changed it to strobe, and it's an oscillating strobe that disorients. So this is really good. You can kind of pick your poison in a tactical mode or a more ultimate performance mode. The other cool thing here, just another thing that I like a lot, is this display. You know, again, it displays everything that you have with battery, as well as the modes here, really easy to pick up, understand. And that was one thing that they kind of raved about when they made the light itself, that they have changed this from a display to this. And at first, I was kind of like, I think this display has a cool factor. I wonder if I'm going to feel like this light is special. But the way that they've designed this to work is really, really well, really easy to use. The other cool thing is when you do pop turbo here, you can see that you actually have a countdown timer with these lights, telling you how long you have before the light gets hot. So just all really, really cool things to like here. Another thing to like is this pocket clip. It's just good, right? It holds the light really easily. It goes into the pocket, nice ramp. The way that it's made and positioned here, when you grab onto the light like this or even a little bit down, I haven't really felt any sort of hot spots whatsoever. Feels comfortable in the hand when using the light itself. No problem here. They also have this sort of backing, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that's to reduce friction when it's going in and out of the pocket, but nice strong clip. This would also be good to put on some like Molly gear. So if you wanted to just quickly pull it up and then have it in your hand, you could just as easily hold it this way and you know, instead of this way like you would when you grab it out of the pocket. So another thing to like a lot. Another thing that I really do like a lot about this light is just its design. Overall, when I first was looking at it online, I wasn't really quite sure about this, but it definitely has this sort of very space age, futuristic, you know, ultra blade, like sort of look, the way that it sort of has this shaped down muzzle here. And these sort of sculptings not only add strength by all these folds, but also give it a cool design. And this also lends to a way that I like the way that this points. Very much like a pin light that is thin and you're kind of pointing where you want it to go. The way that this sort of hangs out just gives you a confidence that you're like pointing this object, right? Instead of a shorter light that's just right in your hand, this is sort of pointing out. I don't know, just the way that it feels really, really enjoyable to use. Another thing that I do like is that click. I just find myself fidgeting this all day, watching these lights dance, tapping this to go up and down. Really, really cool the way that they made all of this, you know, just all together and work. So lots of little things to like here about the light. I think overall, some of the things that I've already kind of touched on, but really go into the fact that of what I love is just something that Nitecore is amazing at, and that is just really taking and making lights that they've really thought out to the fullest when they are making their products. And so this is what the case is here, right? It's sort of that Apple effect, that when Apple comes out with something, there's a sort of polish where it ultimately just works, right? And it works well, and it's like thought out. So Nitecore talks a lot in their amazing Signatorian channel, which is one of my favorite channels to watch. And I always peep there to look at the newest products that Nitecore is going to come out with, and that's how I found out about this guy. But the way that they work is they work with operators, police officers, and multiple units all around the world to make the newest lights and make revisions like this aluminum part instead of the cool OLED screen, so this doesn't scratch or crack, being more durable. So it's just this sort of overall idea, these designs, right? The sort of way that this narrows down at the end so it gets easy into the pocket. This really great made clip, a clip that can also have a lanyard. So if you want to hold it around here, or you're doing something like this and you're holding this, if you drop this, you know, it's held around here. Just these sort of different ideas. Also the really cool way that in the back of this, you hold your fingers like this while it's in the pocket, and then you pull out, right? And then you can immediately twist and get down. Or if you are pulling this from Molly and you need to use this in a striking force, right? Not the first thing I would think, but in an emergency, who knows? You can place your thumb here to get some extra purchase and drive down. You know, again, this isn't necessarily like a reinforced steel bezel like this, so it wouldn't be the first idea to use this as a Kubotan or anything like that, but you get the idea. Also, these really, really nice rubberized, and they're not rubberized where they're going to wear off. It's like a hard plastic sort of rubber, but these sort of really nice textured index points. So, you know, again, this would be just black anodized slippery, but this really is nice, like a gun stock sort of hatching here that also sort of extends the way here, but really grips into your hand here. So even if you're wearing gloves, you're sweaty, holds in. You also get index points that if you did want to turn this on and use it more like a traditional light, you could do so if you're holding this for a long time and wanted to do a more relaxed sort of casual stroll around and look around type situation. So really cool in that way. Another thing that I do love, especially having kiddos, is the really well thought out dual lockout mode. So when I first got this light, I'm like, man, this is kind of weird. You have to wait a long time to turn it on and then wait a long time to turn it off. That's until I figured out there was a deep click. But the turbo mode is kind of cool. When you have it on, you just press and hold the half hold, and then you get one light. Now this is lockout mode 1, or diode lockout mode. So with this, you can see I'm clicking, it's not working. But in an emergency, boom, I can get into that strobe, right? Or that turbo, or that strobe, however you have it set up, right? And then another cool way that they engineer things to not only be useful, but also fun and functional, is you just double tap and with the slight hold, and you see this 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's like a lockout countdown until you're back into the regular light mode itself. So really cool. Now there is also a full lockout mode if you had this in a pack, or again you had kids and you don't want this powerful light to be possibly used, or turned on. Accessed is the word I was looking for. Now this is completely turned off, it's dead, right? And then you have to do that double tap and hold to get back in. So easy to get out, easy to get into, but also something that is not easy to be able to, you know, accidentally enable while you're using the light itself, especially with this dual switch mode, knowing that this is turbo all the time, and then this is the more finely tuned motor skill type thing, right? They've also designed that button bigger, so if you get scared, you know, whether it's that or just using the meat of your hand, you're gonna be hitting that longer turbo in a sort of stressful, adrenaline-filled situation. So really, really cool stuff. You also get some instructions here on the back, how to do that, and that's actually how I figured out it was like, oh, half or a full click, and then I figured out there's long presses and short presses. Silly me, right? Should have did the manual. Now, the big other thing that I love here is that Nitecore, again, in that very Apple way of using like the M chips and the A chips instead of using just Qualcomm chips from the aftermarket, is they're designing their own LEDs now at Nitecore for ultra performance. You know, if you have an LED like this, for example, this light is about 1700 lumens with this light, and this uses a luminous SFT40 in it. So good throwy emitter, has a decent spill, small hotspot, not too shabby. When you compare that to the performance here of the Nitecore, you can see that the flood is just about the same. It just cuts off on each side because it's got these straights, but the hotspot here is actually a little bigger. But what's crazy is this actually throws more. Hey guys, so tonight we're taking a look at the EDC25 by Nitecore, their newest slim EDC light, and we're just gonna get some beam shots out of the way and turbo and things like that. Before we do though, we're gonna compare it to a light that I absolutely love from a brand that I haven't loved all their products more recently, but this one's just been really, really good. And this is the Olight Warrior Mini 3. So it's just a good light. And this is a light that's sort of built in that sort of tactical realm here. So we got it here on low. I'm just gonna pump it up. So you can see we have a flood left and right, and then we have kind of a fuzzy beam spot in the middle. Not really that fuzzy actually though, it's pretty pinpoint, but it's a little bigger. It's not super small like a crazy throw light. You cycle through, and then you got turbo, see? So it goes all the way up and even over there into those trees a little bit. It's actually barely visible with my eyes. It looks a little better on camera, to be honest. So this Nitecore has more throw and double the power than, practically double the power than that light here. So full charge, click it on. This is a nice thing about this too, is that after you have it on for about 7 seconds, 5 seconds, the lights turn off, which was a problem I had from another Nitecore. But we're gonna pump it up to just sort of a more medium useful mode. As you can see, you get a spotlight that's actually a little bit bigger than the O-light, my bad. But the flood left to right isn't as wide, and that's because if you turn it this way, right, there's edges on both sides that cut off. Turn it this way, it's a little bit wider, right? But not that big of a deal. You still get plenty of secondary flood. So that's a really nice thing, sorry. And then we kick it up, and this is the 1000 lumens here. So nice, crazy, able to fill everything out. No real artifacts at all, which is really nice. And then if we go for the full beams with the turbo, as you can see, I'm able to see a lot easier that light over there than the last light. And that's just because of the pure massive amount of power. As you can see, turbo has completely ran out because of the heat, and the light let me know by the blue counting down. It's a really cool feature to actually let you know how much turbo you have before it cuts out. So definitely cool. You get a lot more light power. You get more throw as well. And you're just definitely still able to be used for like EDC, walking around, everything like that. But that instant turbo button, you can even make a strobe yourself, right? Control the situation. If you were doing tactical stuff, like not, trained in that way, in any sort of way. But again, you get the idea here. So yeah, overall, definitely a nice little thing that's going on here. But you can already see I've just been using the battery today, and from a short little turbo burst and that long turbo burst, we've already got just 3 lights. So of course, one other thing about the thinner battery that something like the O-light does a little bit of a better job at. Yep. Another thing to love here is with the performance, this will throw 300 meters, or actually like 326 meters. And that's because, my goodness, this versus that's 3000 lumens. So you're getting a ton of performance. And that's because these lights, these micro LED lights that they are making for themselves, in-house or through, partners, but, with in-house specifications, however they're really doing it, are really kind of advancing the technology with the lights. I remember a couple years ago, it was a really big deal to have a MSR D4V2, 4 Nitecore emitters making 4000 lumens. Crazy. Now we have 2 emitters, that are making 3000 lumens. And instead of it just going like this, is 4 emitters in here. An insane 4000 lumens and a big flood, right? But this is only like 120, 130 meters. With this, you're getting 3000 lumens, and you're getting over 300 meters. So you're actually getting a throwy emitter with a big hotspot. With this, a bigger hotspot, the big flood, right? It's like the best of all worlds as far as the LED performance. And the color is not gross. It's not a putrid, ugly green. It's completely serviceable, completely usable. So just all sorts of things to love, all this sort of overall package, the way that this has been designed, cleverly thought out, the UI, the controls, the lockout mode, the performance, the way that things are scalloped and chamfered and textured, to be able to use it in real situations, because this light is really popular. Its sort of competitor is the Surefire Stiletto, right? And it's this thin design when you're carrying a pocket knife and you're carrying, you know, a firearm right on you. It's a situation that you need as slim and trim as possible when you have these bigger, heavier things on as well. Maybe, you know, a first aid kit as well, right? Anything that you can slim down and make easier is great. And that shows because those lights are extremely popular in that two-way community. So this is definitely something to love. Another thing to love is the price here has dropped. It is now under $70, and it has better performance both in tint, in multiple modes, in the dual, in the UI, I believe, and definitely in the performance than the Stiletto 2 Pro even. And that's a $300 light versus this being $60. And I would bet with the just tankiness and build quality, which is the last thing to really just love and send home here, Nitecore is really in the top tier as far as fit and finish. So these are all things to love. Now, with any light, there is some things to dislike, right? So some things to kind of keep in mind here we'll jump into. The first thing, one other thing that is cool to note as well is that this does have a sensor in it. So if this is in a pack and it gets pressed on, it's instantly going to shoot down to 1,000 lumens instead of 3,000, so you don't have the warrior effect from a light burning holes in people's pockets, right? So another cool, well thought out feature. But what they have done for law enforcement is if you pop turbo from a far away and then you press it up close, you know, to somebody's face, or they were saying press it through the tint of a car so you can illuminate the entire inside of a cabin, it won't go off if you've had it away from the light source for longer than like 1 second. It won't drop down. So it gives you that best of the safety, but also the best of performance as well. So cool thing again with that whole entire well thought out use case scenario type thing. But anyways, I digress. Things to not like. So the first thing is the UI takes a little bit of learning here. Once you do use it, it's really enjoyable. It's fun to use. Like I said, I like to fidget it and sometimes just tap and watch the lights dance and all that stuff. But it is a little different than some other lights. So just something that takes some practice for sure. The other thing is that with this light, something to dislike is this is kind of cool. You know what I mean? Kind of that sort of techwear feeling with all the data, or like a 1980s car that's like double overhead cam VVTi, you know, it's 16 valve on the side or something like this, right? I kind of like that, but at the same time it's kind of billboardy and busy at the same, you know, we could do away probably with this as well, to be honest. You know, again, once you use the light and get to know it, do you really need to know this stuff if you use the light? You know, there could have been some other things maybe put here instead, but do I mind it to the biggest extent? No, but it is a little billboardy, and I could see where people don't like that, to be honest. Something that even caught my eye. The other thing to not like here, one thing too that is good here, you do have USB Type-C. It's always good, but that's kind of a standard, so I wasn't going to call it out that much. But the one thing to dislike is the water resistance here is IP54. So this is not IP68, where you just set this in a thing of water for days and it's fine, right? This is going to be a situation that if this meets water, it's probably not going to fare well, right? Maybe if it's in the pocket and there's a rainstorm, it'll be fine, right? Light sort of, dustings of water or sprayed mist or anything. But with this sort of folds that are made to make this interesting shape and fit the battery in on the inside and the circuitry and the little UI screen here and everything, is made in such a way that this is the way that this had to be made, but this isn't all sealed up. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. You know, you never know in a technical situation or even a life situation when you might slip and fall into a puddle, or you might get tackled by somebody and need this light, and then what if it doesn't work, right? Who knows? Because again, this is very much marketed to the 2A community, to law enforcement, and so this is what people are going to be, sorry, flies get on my nerves, going to be buying this around, right? That's why I keep mentioning that. Even as an EDC light, it's nice. But something to keep in mind. That's also another great point. For EDC, this is marketed as the EDC25, everyday carry. And this light has been enjoyable and usable for EDC. It's not bad. But the main thing that it really does lack, but there could be also a conversation of, well, that's more added complexity that you could accidentally be in the wrong mode, but you have the instant turbo. So, you know. But the problem is you don't have a moonlight mode. As you can see here, it automatically goes up to 15 lumens, which 15 lumens when you first wake up in the middle of the night and use this as to get through the house is pretty spicy on the eyeballs. Sometimes even 5 lumens can be. So I would say it's the absolute maximum that I would want to have. I mean, case in point, I would like to have less, but it's the absolute maximum. So if I had like a 55 and then 1,000 lumen light or something, wouldn't be using that for really EDC. This will just get you there, but again, it's pretty high for that low mode. So something to like as well. I could also see where this design maybe to dislike isn't for everybody. Somebody said it looked like a phaser, from Star Trek or something. I kind of think it's cool, Blade Runner-ish, or Neo Tokyo or something like this. But again, to each their own. The only thing to say is rubbish to get into that is kind of the obvious. It's a double-edged sword. This doesn't have a easily replaceable battery. I would hope with these screws that you can see that you could send this off and get it warranted if you had this light long enough that the battery did start to fail. But very much like a lot of content creators, like Nick said, Nick Shabazz, he doesn't really want to get lights that don't have removable batteries. And even some of the cylinder-shaped Nitecores now have integrated batteries in them as well. This one does not. You can unscrew it. But I would even take a proprietary battery inside that's still replaceable over this, if possible. Now again, double-edged sword here, that's not really going to be easy to put easily serviceable, replaceable batteries in a light like this. This form factor kind of demands that it has to have an integrated battery. So I can let this one slide because that's kind of the whole entire point, right, of the light itself. But that does mean, again, if there's ever upgrades in the battery performance, you can't just take it out and put the upgraded model in, and if it does go dead, you're either having to hope that they still carry parts to service and warranty the light, or they're just going to want you to spend your hard-earned money and put this in the e-waste, which is not great. So yeah, that's the only thing I could really think of that is rubbish here. So overall, the EDC25. Well, I love this light. I've been enjoying to carry it. It is something that meets so much of a need and feels so special and cool. It feels new. It feels like a fresh idea, not the same old tube lights that you get and feels sort of the same. I mean, this light feels special, but you get the same tube lights over and over again from different manufacturers, and it's like, how many different AAA, AA lights can have 18650? This feels different. This feels high tech. This feels the future, right? All of this stuff, and the way that everything is so perfectly well thought out, laid out, both in experience, buttons, texturing, user interface, ergonomic, just the whole entire yards make it where this light definitely serves its purpose to be an EDC light, but that is also a tactical light in 2-in-1, right? And just has that high performance with the length and the multiple emitters, but has that smaller diameter that is that of a AAA light at the end. And so it does disappear in the pocket, and that's why it's been a joy to carry, while some lights, even like this, wasn't getting carried for a while because it is round, and this doesn't get carried at all because this is a beef cake of a light. So that's what I would say overall. If you were like, what do I think about this light? What do you think about the performance? Yada, yada, right? The other thing that's kind of obvious, and again, a double-edged sword, I would just say is the turbo doesn't last a long time. But again, you do have a 1000 mode that you can continuously use for a pretty long amount of time. So you really don't need 3000 lumens just for common use. But that's also something I wanted to point out as a dislike, I guess you could say. But even with that out of the way and the other things that I have said, this is a fantastic light. So glad that I have, got this picked up. And if you've been thinking of getting one, definitely do yourself a favor and pick yourself up the EDC25, because you're gonna love this thing. Of course, I can't thank you enough for just taking time to watch this video, as there's so many amazing content creators you could be watching, and you've picked on my little channel over here. Of course, if you do have any sort of questions, please go ahead and leave them down below, as I love to answer them and fellowship with you. And if you do like content like this, please consider liking and subscribing, as there's a lot more content coming in the future. Most importantly, I hope everybody stays safe and you guys have a great rest of your week. Take care. Peace.